Hey everyone, I am Ashley Billington and this is the Campfire. Last week we dove into the private schools. Well, today we take a look at the lower classifications. Let's start things off by taking a glance at some of the teams to pay close attention to in our film session.
When you talk 4A teams with a chance to go far, you have to start with El Campo. The Ricebirds return one of the nation's best running backs, Ruben Owens, who was a touchdown scoring machine his first 3 years. However, even with Owens and other offensive weapons, El Campo lost in the third round. The Ricebirds hope to go even farther this year. Other 4A Division I schools hoping to advance far are Brazosport, Stafford, and out of Houston ISD, Wheatley and Fur. 4A Division II will be interesting. Belleville went 3 rounds deep last year, but the Brahmas graduated a majority of their offense, including Robert Briggs and Richard Reese. Do they have guys waiting in the wings ready to step up? That will be the question. If not, look for the Sealy Tigers to make some noise. Devon Hemiluski will be entering his 3rd year as Sealy's signal caller, and that kind of leadership can go a long way. In 3A, East Chambers and Anna Huack tied for first in their district last season and could be ready to challenge again this year. While in Division II, East Bernard, Van Vleck, and Danbury will fight for playoff positioning in 14-3A.
Those teams will be hungry to go even further in the postseason this year. But let's dig even deeper into the lower classifications with Houston Chronicle reporter John Portman and producer Ward Fasold in our district breakdown.
All right, district breakdown time. We are joined with John Portman of the Houston Chronicle. We're talking lower classifications. And if we talk lower classifications, that means one guy and one guy only, right? The El Campo kid.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Ruben Owens, this is a guy that, we've been talking about for a long time. He burst onto the scene, as a young player there at El Campo, and he's now, look where he is now. He's, one of the top rated recruits in the country. He's got basically every major Division I program after him. And I would expect for him to put up another monster year going into his senior season now. We saw it as a junior. He rushed for nearly 3,000 yards, and he was named Max Prep's National Junior of the Year. Very deserving of that honor, obviously. So, yeah, as long as El Campo has Ruben Owens in the backfield, I think that they're going to be okay.
What about Bellevue? Man, they're losing, Reese and Briggs and those guys. They put up a good 80% of their offense. What do you think they're going to do maybe this year?
Yeah, Belleville is one of those programs that, year in and year out, you can expect good things from. They have a very good tradition there, a winning tradition there. And I would expect that to continue. Obviously, it's really hard to replace 2 guys like Robert Briggs and Richard Reese. But I think that, like I said before, that, they kind of replenish every year, and I think that they'll be in the mix for the playoffs, and maybe they can advance a couple rounds as well.
Look forward to talking to you next week.
The guys had much more to say on the lower classifications, and you can catch the entire district breakdown this Wednesday on our social media platforms. We've heard about the teams. Now let's take a look at some of the players to watch out for and our players on the rise.
We've talked about El Campo's Ruben Owens for the past 2 years, but since he has 1 more year left in his high school career, guess what? We're talking about him again. He's simply an unstoppable force in the backfield as Big Rube rushed for just under 3,000 yards last year to go along with 46 touchdowns. Those are unheard of statistics, which makes Owens a top 5 running back in the country. By the end of this year, Ruben should reach over 8,000 career yards and over 100 touchdowns for the Ricebirds. He may have a difficult name to pronounce, but Devon Hemiluski is even more difficult to deal with on the gridiron. The Sealy senior has been behind center for the Tigers since his sophomore year. Due to injury, Devon only played in 9 of Sealy's 12 games last year, but still passed for 1,700 yards and 22 touchdowns for the Tigers. He also ran for 862 yards as he is one of 4A's premier dual threats. Speaking of dominant dual threat quarterbacks, how about Brazos Sports' Randon Fontenette? He was the 4A Division I offensive MVP last year as Randon threw for over 1,400 yards and 21 touchdowns as a junior. However, he also ran for 1,066 yards and 12 scores. You can catch Fontenette on the other side of the ball as he's a problem at free safety as well. Randon could be the best pure athlete in 4A for the Houston area. 11, 4A Division I was put on notice last year when Cameron Hurd was named District MVP. Well, he's back. The Fur athlete lined up behind center for the Brahmans, but it was his legs that put a scare into Houston ISD opponents. When Hurd saw a hole, he was gone. He ran for 1,068 yards and 11 touchdowns on the season. And with fellow 1,000 rusher Johnny Robinson returning, look out for the Brahmans' ground attack.
Ruben Owens has a chance at 100 career touchdowns this year. What a remarkable high school career he's already had. And he still has one more year to go. Award Fasold caught up with a coach who doesn't have to worry about stopping Big Rube because his team's in Division II. Sealy's Shane Mobley talks to Wiz about his Tigers and much more in our Media Day segment.
Okay, it is Media Day. We are in the lower classifications, and I'm joined by Sealy head coach Shane Mobley. Coach, we talk about 4A and we talk about Division II, and last year you had to deal with Belleville and those two studs over there with Briggs and Reese. You ain't got to deal with those two studs anymore, but you have a new team coming in West Columbia. Talk about how you feel like your district, 10-4A Division I, kind of pans out.
It got tough with West Columbia coming in. For the most part, we stayed the same. We didn't lose anybody. Last year also we had a lot of new coaches in the district with Royal and Sweeney, and so now that they've got a year under their belt, now that they've got an off season underhand, I know that they're going to be a lot stronger as well. And so Belleville's got a lot of kids returning. Yes, Reese and Briggs, outstanding young men. We've seen them for the last 4 years, so it's a graduation for me as well for those guys to be gone. West Columbia coming in. When I first got here, we was in district with Needville and El Campo and Bay City and West Columbia. So we are familiar with them.
Talk about your quarterback coming back, Devon Himilewski. He obviously had that shoulder ding, missed a couple games. We were talking off camera. You may be playing him on both sides of the ball as well, not only just to help your team out, but maybe to get some, he's an athlete guy, to get him some looks at the next level, right?
With Devon, he's also that type of kid that he wants to be on the field. And you got those guys that want to be on the field, and you got those guys that want to be on the field. And he's one of those guys. And so going into his senior year, we've got some guys coming up that we feel like could make a really good hand in case something happens at that quarterback position. We want to turn him loose a little bit more.
Well, I appreciate you joining us, Coach. And I know we're four months early, but it's never too early to start talking about football. So I appreciate you coming on with us.
Thanks for reaching out. If there's anything y'all need, or just let me know.
All right, thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, guys. And to hear that entire interview, check back on our social media platforms on Friday. That's going to do it for this week's show. Be sure to join us next week when we move into 5A and start with 5A Division I. You can keep up with everything on the high school football scene on our Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube account. Until next time, I am Ashley Bullington, and thank you so much for watching the Campfire.